In a sun-drenched corner of a sprawling forest, nestled among whispering leaves and ancient trees, lived a tiny chick named Pip. From the moment he hatched, Pip was different. While his siblings were content pecking at scattered grain and dust bathing in the warm afternoon sun, a fire burned within Pip's tiny heart. He wasn't just a chick, he was a warrior in the making. Every morning, as dawn painted the sky in hues of orange and pink, Pip would begin his rigorous training. He wasn't chasing just any worm, he was hunting the biggest, fastest worms, honing his reflexes and speed. He would spend hours sharpening his beak against the tough bark of an old oak tree, turning it into a formidable weapon. He'd practice his leaps, his dodges, his sprints until his little legs ached and his chest heaved. The other chickens would cluck in amusement. Look at little Pip, always playing his silly games. But Pip knew this was no game. He felt a deep, instinctual need to be strong, to be ready for anything the world might throw at him. He didn't know why, but the feeling was undeniable. He dreamed of being a guardian, a protector, a legend among his flock. He grew bigger, his fluffy yellow down replaced by sleek, powerful feathers. His once tiny frame became muscular and agile. The silly games had sculpted him into a magnificent rooster, his crow a powerful call that echoed through the forest. He was proud, he was strong, and he was ready. One fateful afternoon, while Pip was deep in the forest, perfecting a new aerial maneuver far from his village, the sky turned an eerie, sickly green. A low hum vibrated through the earth, growing into a deafening roar. Pip looked up just in time to see a celestial object, a meteor glowing with a strange, pulsating light, streak across the sky. It crashed directly into the heart of his village with a cataclysmic boom that shook the very ground he stood on. A shockwave of green energy pulsed outwards, washing over the forest. Pip, shielded by the dense woods and his distance, felt only a faint tremor. Concerned, he immediately abandoned his training and raced back home, his heart pounding with a sense of dread he couldn't explain. The familiar, happy clucking of his village was gone. In its place was an unnerving silence, broken only by a strange, guttural groaning. As he broke through the last line of trees, a horrific sight met his eyes. The clearing was a scene of chaos. The chickens, his friends, his family were changed. Their eyes glowed with the same sickly green as the meteor. Their movements were stiff and jerky, and they shambled aimlessly, their beaks agape, letting out those horrifying moans. The vibrant life of his home had been extinguished, replaced by a walking nightmare. They were zombies, every single one of them. Pip's heart shattered. These were the chickens he had vowed to protect. He had trained his whole life for a threat, but he never could have imagined this. A wave of grief washed over him, so powerful it almost brought him to his knees. But then, he saw it. A group of zombie chickens was cornering a small clutch of unhatched eggs, the last hope for a future generation. The fire that had always burned within him roared to life, consuming his sorrow and forging it into pure, unadulterated resolve. This was his moment, this was why he had trained. He let out a defiant, earth-shattering crow, a battle cry that ripped through the unnatural silence. "This is my home," he seemed to roar. The zombie flock turned as one, their glowing green eyes locking onto him. The first wave charged, a shambling tide of his former friends. Pip met them head-on. He was a whirlwind of feathers and fury. He used the techniques he had practiced for years, a dodge here, a powerful peck there. He used the trees as springboards, launching himself over the horde, striking from above. He moved with a grace and power they couldn't comprehend. He wasn't just fighting, he was dancing a deadly ballet. He remembered every face. There was Old Man Clucker, who used to tell stories. He dispatched him with a swift, precise strike, a silent apology on his beak. There were the hens who used to gossip by the watering hole, now a mindless mob. He fought them back, his movements a blur of controlled chaos. It was a grueling battle, one against hundreds. His muscles screamed in protest, his body ached with every impact, but he refused to fall. The battle raged for what felt like an eternity. Sunrise bled into sunset, and then into another dawn. Pip was running on pure adrenaline and willpower. He was outnumbered, exhausted, and wounded, but his spirit was unbreakable. He fought through the waves of his zombified kin, each victory a painful tribute to their memory. He learned their patterns, their clumsy lunges, their single-minded pursuit. He used the terrain to his advantage, leading them into narrow ravines where he could face them a few at a time, and into thorny bushes that slowed their advance. He was a lone sentinel, a single point of light against an encroaching darkness. He fought for the memory of what his village once was. He fought for the promise of the unhatched eggs. He fought because it was the only thing left to do. The horde began to thin. One by one, the zombie chickens fell, until only the largest and most formidable remained, a huge rooster who had been Pip's childhood rival. In life, he had been a bully. In undeath, he was a monster, bigger and stronger than the rest, the clear leader of the horde. This was the final boss, the ultimate test. Their duel was legendary, beak against beak, talon against talon. They crashed against each other with the force of two locomotives. It was a clash of wills, of light against dark. Pip, using his superior speed and agility, dodged the behemoth's clumsy but powerful attacks. He wore the giant down, strike by painful strike, until finally, with one last monumental effort, he launched himself into the air and delivered the final, decisive blow. As the last zombie fell, an exhausted silence descended upon the forest once more. But this was not the eerie silence from before. This was a peaceful quiet, the sound of a battle won, of a nightmare ended. Pip stood alone in the center of the clearing, his body bruised and battered, but his spirit unbroken. He was the sole survivor, the victor. He slowly walked over to the clutch of eggs he had fought so hard to protect. He gently nudged one with his beak. A tiny crack appeared, then another. Soon, a small, wet head poked through, letting out a faint, hopeful peep. A tear welled in Pip's eye as he watched the new generation begin to hatch. He had saved them. He had fulfilled his purpose. He was no longer just Pip, the chick who trained too hard. He was Pip, the guardian of the forest, the legend who stood alone against the darkness and won. His story would be whispered on the wind, a testament to the fact that even the smallest among us can possess the heart of a true hero. His watch was not over, it had just begun. He would protect this new flock, train them, and ensure that the light of his village would never be extinguished again. Thank you so much for watching this epic tale of courage and clucking chaos. If you enjoyed Pip's heroic journey, don't forget to pack that like button and subscribe for more amazing stories. We'd love to hear what you thought in the comments below. Until next time, stay strong and keep fighting the good fight.